Hello, this is Sam Kiszka from Greta Van Fleet, and we just announced our Australian tour, and we'll be there soon. See you there.
Beautiful, mate. That was so beautiful, mate. I reckon I'm going to go to the show anyway, just because of that.
Yes, okay, good. I've convinced at least you, Kris.
So, Greta Van Fleet have announced you'll visit Australia as part of the Starcatcher worldwide tour, starting in Brisbane on August 21st and going through Sydney and Melbourne and finishing in Auckland on August the 30th, mate. So, sounds like a party already.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be over the top. It's been way too long since we've been there. And of course, like everybody else, I'm going to say we had a tour planned, but then for some reason everything got canceled, and I don't know exactly why. But now finally we're going to be there, and I'm so excited because we love Australia.
Yeah, the amount of times I've heard people say that they're excited about coming, and you can just see in their face they're going through the motions. But you actually sold that so well, mate. You do look like you're looking forward to coming.
Oh no, I know it's like at every show you can say, "Oh yes, Sydney, you're my favorite city in the world." But no, like actually, like we fucking love Australia. Going to the beaches and going out and seeing the wildlife. And just you can get outside of the city so quick. And that's what we like because we spend a lot of time in the cities. We like to see some of the trees out there and whatnot.
Nature.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It feels so good to just be out of town and just in the middle of nowhere. And it feels good to kind of get outside of the cities when we're touring.
Yeah, well, that's sort of reflected a bit in your tour schedule, mate. Like I noticed that every show's got a few days off in between. So, like, do you have plans to explore the country, or are you just going to spend those as R&R days?
No, we don't have any exact plans, but yes, definitely getting outside of the cities and exploring a little bit because back in, geez, when was this? 2018, when we were last in Australia, we were touring so hard at the time. We went from a huge United States tour to a European tour to New York City to do Saturday Night Live, and then we went to Japan, and then we went to Australia, and we were so burnt out. We just kind of stayed in our hotel rooms the whole time. Everything was going really quick, and we were getting sick, but at this point in our lives in our touring career, we had it really figured out. And, I know what I like. I like to even show day sometimes kind of go out, get some sunlight on my skin, and go out to like a forest or something. And it feels really good. So yes, we're going to be exploring.
You mentioned before that it has been a while since you've been out here. So the last Australian tour was in 2019. So what's changed with the band in that time?
I guess a couple of albums. So maybe we got 2 albums out since then. And oh gosh, yeah, the show is a completely different experience, and I'm really happy to finally be coming to share the show because it's just we've always wanted to curate everything right down to the T, right? Everything from the color of the stage to the light show to the pyro that we're using, the flames and the fire and the music and the jamming and we're just how much should we jam and how long should everything has changed since then. So there are so many more songs. The show is so different, and yeah, there's so many great moments in the show. So gosh, I'm so excited. It has been a long time. You're making me think back to, gosh, what was it? 5 years ago, you said?
Yeah, 5 years, half a decade even.
Yeah, so everything has changed. So you can expect us to get a little pyro going. You can expect some new songs and everything, and just a lot of energy. I find that whenever we're playing in front of a live audience, we just start going off, and it's hard to stop, but it's exciting.
Yeah. Now, the tour has already taken you throughout the US, Europe, and the UK. with noticeable shows at legendary venues such as Madison Square Garden, the Forum, and OVO Arena in Wembley, mate. So what's it actually like playing massive venues like that with so much history? Like, it must be a buzz.
Well, you know, my favorite part is we go into these venues and they have all of these plaques and like photos on the walls of like Elton John and BB King, and then you have Aretha Franklin, and then you have like Led Zeppelin, and it's like, oh my God, do we have to compete with this? It's just so cool. It's like, oh my gosh, Funkadelic played here, and like all these like bands that we look up so much too, and bands that we grew up listening to. It's really powerful to be walking through those halls, and they make sure to remind you of what happened in that building. So it's super cool. It's a huge honor. It's a privilege to be able to come somewhere, especially so far from home, and people buy the tickets and people show up and do that. So it's humbling, it's beautiful, and the real purpose of the show is to hopefully inspire people and have this positive feedback loop where we're playing and we're having a great time on stage, but then the audience starts having a great time, and then we have an even better and it just shoots back and forth until, you know, we all kind of ascend. It's just a fantastic time, and I really live for this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
amazing.
Now, for this next question, mate, that you can either give us a standard expected answer or you could be a bit more honest. So we'll see what sort of person you are.
Bring it on, Chris. Bring it the fuck on.
So after playing at places like Wembley and the Forum and Madison Square Garden, such iconic venues, like, is it difficult in a way to sort of go back to your normal standard venues and not have that around you? Like, do you have to get your mindset around not being in the pinnacle, I guess?
No, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think that all of the arenas are very similar. All these venues are very similar. What makes a big difference is the audience. It's like, what quality of audience are we looking at here? We love an audience that is, you know, we're so picky, attentive at the right time, but also likes to rock the fuck out. So it's difficult to find the right medium, but I love an audience that's very attentive, and they're like, you know, Jake's doing a long guitar solo. I love to see them looking at them, and they go, what? They're thinking, and they're like, wow, and they're trying to figure out what he's saying with that. But I also like it when we, you know, break into highway tune and everybody loses their fucking minds. So I guess that's the answer to that. Because the question was essentially, what's the difference? Or is it not as fun going to lesser known venues?
Yeah, basically, you answered that very well, mate. Well done.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. It's all about the people who are in there.
I actually particularly love your statement, mate, when you're describing the crowd watching the guitar solo, and you said that they're trying to figure out what he's saying. Like, you're actually referring that the guitar is actually saying something. It's beautiful.
Yes, because just as much as Josh is singing words, Jake is pretty much doing the same thing, but just in a different language. So you can, and also the people up front always are really involved in different ways sometimes, but they're always watching. No matter what, if they're rocking out, they're always attentive at the same time. And maybe the music asks for that, or hopefully it's because we put in so much work into the music and the performance that it kind of asks you to pay attention. But no matter what, the people up there are always really along for the ride, and it's very inspiring for us to look out there and see these people who are so excited and so attentive.
Fuck yeah. Now, as the name of the tour suggests, you were touring on the back of last year's album, Starcatcher. So how's that been received by fans, mate? Did they all get into it as much as you thought they would?
Yeah, it's been so great. Every time we kind of roll out a new album, we think, okay, which songs do we put on the set list? because of course we want to play the new ones that are kind of more exciting to us, but of course we have to play Safari Song and Highway Tune. Well, we don't have to, but there is.
Stop throwing at you if you don't.
You know what I mean? Yeah, there will be a riot. No, but what I mean is there are so many movements to songs on like Starcatcher, like Falling Sky, Indigo Streak. They change tempos, they change parts, sometimes they change keys, and there are different attitudes throughout the song. But if you play Highway Tune, it's just like, yes, like everybody's rocking out for a while. And we embellish it and we jam on it and we kind of do that stuff. So I'm not going to say like, oh, it's no fun playing Highway Tune. It's so simple and it's attitude driven. It's about, and that's at the end of the day, rock and roll really is about the attitude. We're not trying to be pretentious with the music. We're not trying to, do time signature changes and this and that. We want it to feel natural. We want it to feel like, obviously, authentic. I think that's really the brand of Greta Van Fleet, is authenticity and attitude as far as the music goes. So, yes, I'm really good at forgetting the question, but
well, you're answering the ones I was going to ask anyway really well.
Oh, perfect.
The press release says with Starcatcher, the band has definitely managed to capture their live energy in the recording studio. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, yes. That was kind of the whole point of the album, is because we did our very, big cinematic Starcatcher. We did our big cinematic. Gosh, what was the name of that last album? The Battle at Garden's Gate. That one. And we did it. And that was the album in my head that I always heard when we were kind of starting off. So from there, it was kind of a curiosity to figure out what we would do next. And in my head, I thought, gosh, it would be nice to go backwards and look at some of that attitude, because I actually think that would bring us into the future of Greta Van Fleet. And it certainly did. Maybe not exactly what we were doing back in the garage in Michigan, but the ethos of that, the idea of sitting down in a garage and just bringing ideas to the table and just playing and having that energy, rather than, get the adrenaline rolling. All right, let's do a take. All right, take two. Let's go again. No, it was about having us sitting really naturally in the room and not focusing down too hard, kind of like feeling relaxed and just being a band. And that's kind of what Starcatcher is about. And we capture that energy, and it's so loose and it's so Greta Van Fleet. It wasn't about saying, hey, let me take another take of this guitar solo after 90 takes. No, it's about just doing it the first time and having that energy pervade the message of the song. Because after a while, it gets convoluted and it starts to not represent the song. It gets too rigid. And yes, I feel that Starcatcher is a very emotionally wide open album for us as players, and of course Josh is a singer and also a writer.
Now I've totally lost track of time here, mate. So have I got time for a few more questions, or have I overstayed my welcome?
Throw a couple more at me.
Too easy, man. So Greta Van Fleet burst onto the scene with your Grammy Award-winning 2017 EP From the Fires. So how was that period for you, mate? Like, was it a bit overwhelming getting such recognition on one of your first releases?
That period of time was absolutely insane, because that was in the same period of time where we were touring Australia for the first time, we were touring Japan for the first time, and we were supposed to go to Los Angeles, and then we were supposed to do Saturday Night Live in New York, and we were off in the British Virgin Islands for, some family vacation, because we didn't see our family for a year. And it was just absolutely nuts. And it was so much fun, but we kind of figured out, hey, this speed of life isn't going to work. We won't be able to keep doing this. So yeah, we kind of figured out where that lies. But yeah, as far as the Grammys go, it was very flattering in the sense that, wow, we did something impactful enough to be recognized by the Academy of Recording Arts. And I thought it was so great because rock and roll is not a big category. People don't care about rock and roll so much in the mainstream sense. Rock and roll is an underground movement. It's always been. There was a time, obviously, in the late 60s and early 70s where it was mainstream, like rock and roll's charting. But it's really not about pop music. Rock and roll is about being underground. It's about being kind of the one who does not follow the status quo. It's about being the person who takes the path less traveled. And I really think that's what it's about. But it was very cool to be recognized by the Recording Academy in that sense because rock and roll is so underground. It's its own thing.
Oh, cool. Now, because of the success of that EP, mate, like, was it tempting to replicate the same formula on your debut album, Anthem of the Peaceful Army, or did you make a conscious effort, I guess, at a point to shake things up and go away from that?
You got to shake it up, but I'm kind of halfway with that. I think that you always have to change it up a little bit. You can't release the same album over and over. Not only because it's contrived, because it would be a disservice to the band. It would be a disservice to the group. Like Neil Young said, I could have made another Harvest, which was, his biggest album, but it would have been dishonest to myself, is what he said. And I remember the Beatles commenting on some American artists, I think especially in Motown, saying, you know what, we love these songs, but they're doing the same thing over and over again. And the Beatles were a perfect example. And that's kind of what I really like to look at and think, okay, they really changed album to album. And for us, for Greta Van Fleet, not only aesthetically, like the visual world has to change, but the sonic world has to change. We have to get different influences for the next album. We have to change the idea of the music. We have to change the feeling. It's always going to be Greta Van Fleet no matter what, because if you put Josh, Jake, Daniel, and I together in a room, it's always going to sound like that because of our styles and our musical influences and the whole collision of all those ideas. But you always have to push the envelope. You have to challenge yourself to do something differently because that's what makes it interesting. A lot of bands do the same album over and over, and it sounds like the same thing. But if you challenge yourself and you put yourself in an uncomfortable spot, you get something that's a lot more interesting. You get something that's a lot more authentic because it came from learning. I mean, it's all about learning as humans, right?
Oh, fuck yeah. Now, in the overall scheme of things, Greta Van Fleet is still pretty young and fresh band. Like, you still got your baby teeth, I'd say. So how much musical growth, I guess, do you think the band's got left in you?
Would you say how many years do we have left?
I'm sorry, how much musical growth do you think you've got left in you? Because you're only just sort of starting your journey, really.
Gosh, it's really difficult to say. I would love to never become stale. I would love to never become this one thing as a band. I would really like to see our career keep growing as we grow as people and have different musical influences and keep challenging ourselves in different ways to create a new Greta Van Fleet, because nothing is supposed to be stagnant. Not even a puddle of water, not a tree, not a career, not even being a person. We're supposed to grow and we're supposed to change. And so I don't have an answer for that, but
you went around it very well.
The way that things are going now, I would see Greta Van Fleet evolving and evolving for as long as we're doing Greta Van Fleet.
There you go. All right, Sam. Well, thanks very much for your time today, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. The band will be in Australia from August the 21st, starting in Brisbane, and I shall be at that show. So hopefully we catch up.
Yes, I'm so excited.
You're still excited. What a man.
Yes, well, I'll see you there.